one of the many answers that I've given myself that plays into how I present myself online and how I present myself as a business or as a brand is just me, my personality. And I feel that I'm a very genuine person. I enjoy relationships, like truly enjoy relationships. I'm not one of those guys that will just scroll through my phone and show you all the contacts that I've made in the past 3 years in Nashville. You know, I have like a list of maybe 4 or 5 people that I'm really invested in, right? Because relationships will get you everywhere in life. And it's a great way of being symbiotic. So I invest heavily into people, and I'm very genuine when it comes to the things that I enjoy playing.
Today our guest is Meinl Cymbals artist Richie Martinez. I was sitting in a restaurant in Poland a few years back, Warsaw to be specific, and it was right after the Meinl Drum Festival that we'd hosted there with our distributor. I'm sitting with Matt Halpern, a Meinl Cymbals artist whom most of you know of, and Matt had just finished playing that evening, and he was telling me, dude, you've got to bring Richie Martinez on board. Now, Richie and I had been in contact for a while, and I had not brought him on board yet, not really because anything was wrong with him, just because as AR guys, we sometimes get super busy and don't have the mental capacity to focus immediately on how best to work with a potential artist. Anyway, I knew Richie was a guy to keep my eye on, and so I did. But it was Matt that was kind of like the universe telling me, you know, hey, you got to bring this guy on board. So I ended up bringing Richie on board, and it's been great ever since. Richie is one of those guys that has this incredible work ethic that I admire so much. He is always going after what he wants, and he has a very well thought out, focused, clear path on how to get there. Whether it's his physical health or his drumming or his family, anything that he's focused on, he goes after hard, and he does it with a super amount of joy and gratitude. So it's been really easy working with Richie, actually. He's one of those guys that always has a smile on his face and never expects anything, and he's always grateful for what he gets. Usually good things come to people like that. So we've been working with Richie quite a bit. I'm sure you've seen a lot of his videos out there that we've been putting online. He's been such a team player and is just incredible. And so after a quick thought of having him on this podcast, it was kind of a no-brainer. And I sat down with him and had a great discussion. Lots of fun. We actually had to stop it because it could have gone on for too long and you guys would have probably not been into hearing this for that long. But we had lots to talk about, and Richie has great insights. You know, he came to Nashville for one thing and ended up doing another, which did not fall under the header of what you usually do in Nashville. So it's been really neat to see his career trajectory so far. Anyway, I'll quit babbling, but if you don't know about Richie, don't bypass this podcast because you could learn some cool things about a super cool guy and a great drummer. Anyway, without further ado, here is Richie Martinez.
So, I'd like to welcome everybody into the Meinl Radio Podcast. Today, we have Meinl Cymbals artist and my good amigo, my brochacho.
Yes.
Richie Martinez.
Yes, it is a pleasure to be here.
Dude, thanks for being here.
I'm so happy to be doing this.
So, we do these podcasts like all kinds of different places. I've done them in recording studios with artists there, like after a video session. I've done them in the Meinl AR office in Nashville at midnight after a Beck show. That was with Chris Coleman.
Awesome.
Now we're doing this one. This was the same room that we did Matt Halpern's in. It's room 5 at SIR here in Nashville. And for all of you people out there who don't know what room 5 in SIR Nashville is, it's a secret torture chamber that we apply only to country drummers.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Actually, we're in my bathroom at home. We're in our skivvies in the bathtub right now, so that's the reality.
Lots of bubbles.
Yeah, this room is really great. I like I was mentioning, we did an Arch Echo rehearsal here, and it was Adam Bentley and myself and Joe. I think it was just us 3 because the other guys are remote.
What does Joe play?
Joe plays bass.
And what does Adam play?
Adam Bentley plays rhythm guitar.
Okay.
And he's also like the engineering genius behind all the tones and recording and everything that we do.
And so for you guys that don't know it, Arch Echo is Richie's band.
Yes, I play drums for Arch Echo. We're technically prog metal, I guess. instrumental stuff. There's no vocalists, but it's always funny whenever I'm trying to describe my music to people, especially like some random old lady that asks, "Oh, you're a musician? What do you play?"
Do old ladies ask?
Oh yeah, all kinds of people ask.
How do you?
It's weird to explain that.
Okay, so for the person that knows nothing about metal,
Yeah.
what do you tell them you play?
So okay, I actually just say I play rock and roll.
That's good.
When I know that it's someone that's gonna have no idea, or I assume, because I do assume many times, when someone's not gonna know what style I'm talking about, definitely rock and roll. We've done the thing where we explain. I play like a progressive, experimental jazz, rock, metal type music, and then you can see that it's a glazed over look, and they don't even care.
Yeah.
But I guess technically we're prog metal because the metal portion we have distorted guitars and loud music, so I guess that's the metal aspect, and prog obviously because the music is moving in a very progressive manner. It's experimental. I guess the newer versions of bands that existed like Rush and Dream Theater and stuff like that. So it's a very interesting category.
So you play that kind of music and you live in Nashville.
Yeah, I live in Nashville.
How does that work?
That's really it's really funny because when I was making the decision to move here, when Sophia's my wife, before we had a child, we were newlyweds. We were like a year in Houston, and I had been chatting with Matt Halpern, and I was picking his brain and seeing what he thought about the potential move, because I was asking all the people that I'd look up to. I was like, should I do it? Should I make it happen? Talked to him and a couple other friends, and they all said you should definitely do it. If it's something that you think will push you forward, move to Nashville.
Move to Nashville.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
Definitely move to Nashville if you think it's something that's gonna like push you forward. As I was thinking about it, it's like, man, I just got married. This is so difficult. But I know that I want to be in Nashville because there's a different level of not only competition but opportunity, right? And so in my mind, Nashville was like the hub for what I wanted to do, or what I thought I wanted to do, which was to become a session player in a hired gun, play for a whole bunch of different artists, right? That was my mind, the picture in my brain when I was younger. And this was maybe 4 years ago.
And you knew that the type of music what the type of music in Nashville predominantly is.
Yes.
And you were okay with playing that. Is that what you choose to listen to in your spare time?
No, absolutely not.
So would you say that you're well versed in that kind of music?
Yeah, for sure. I played for an artist by the name of Sheila Marshall in Texas. She's a Texas country / Americana artist. And so that's what I was doing when I was in Texas. And
Okay.
I was very comfortable with that genre and that style.
Got it.
Play pocket stuff and Pat Boone, Debbie Boone.
Yeah.
Straightforward things.
Is that a Mike Johnston thing?
The Pat Boone, Debbie Boone?
Yeah. I've only ever heard him say that. You're the first person I've ever heard say that.
Really?
Yeah. So I just wasn't sure.
I didn't. I got it. I heard Rich Redmond say it, and I think it's like a common Nashville saying. It has to be a common Nashville saying because
I didn't know if Mike owned it or
Pat Boone and Debbie Boone were artists, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, there you go. That's how you know I know things. But so in my brain, what I wanted to do was become a session guy in a hired gun. And I always had an affinity for progressive music or, being a drummer and just a drummer's drummer. But I knew that to get work, I had to play all kinds of styles. So we make the move finally. We pull the trigger, come to Nashville. And then as soon as I get to Nashville, a month in, it's crazy, I met Adam Bentley. Adam Bentley, the rhythm guitarist for Arch Echo, previously mentioned. So we have a mutual friend. They studied together at Berkeley. And my mutual friend was like, hey, you got to check out this dude's music. Adam Bentley has a solo project called Absently. And I thought it was amazing. I was like, yo, this is crazy. Because I'd just gotten into Animals as Leaders. I got into bands like Periphery and Chon. Like, that happened way later in life. I think I was, like, in my 20s. So I had already been established as far as what I wanted to play and like to play. And then these bands came around, and it was a new affinity. So I heard Adam's stuff that was pretty similar in that vein. And I messaged him. And I saw that he was in Nashville, and so I was like, hey, dude, let's get coffee, because, that's what you do. You get coffee, or you get Edley's with someone, or Pad Thai. That's what we did. I remember that. That Pad Thai changed my life, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
This would have been Thai Phuket.
Yes.
That was the Pad Thai. That was the one that's down there by the Titan Stadium.
Yeah.
Looks kind of like a shack on the outside, but the food's amazing.
That's how you know it's good.
Dude, they actually have. Did you notice when you walked in or left, they have a little statue of Buddha with a plate with like sacrificial food there for him? Like
I didn't notice that.
Sacrificial might be a heavy word. More like an offering.
Yeah.
They have there. Yeah, they do it every day.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was really great. And that kind of threw... this is a tangent, but that threw me into pad thai. We'll talk about pad thai because I love it. Like, if I could eat one dish, it would be pad thai, always. So I met Adam Bentley, and I messaged him. I was like, hey, dude, I really love your stuff. You're super handsome. You got beautiful eyes. I want to sit across the table from you. And so we went to Crema and started chatting. It turns out that he moved to Nashville like a month or so before I did.
Oh, wow.
So, brand new. No friends. He still doesn't really have friends. Adam, you don't have friends other than me, man. I'm sorry. But neither do I. So we met together. I was like, hey, dude, love what you're doing. It was actually really enjoyable. Like, we hit it off. It's like almost as if I had known this dude forever.
Did you disagree on anything?
No. We still don't really disagree on big things. He's really easy to get along with. All the Archeco guys are just like-minded individuals.
Cool.
And so he had then mentioned to me that he knew a group of guys that wanted to start a band or do this band idea. And I've told you a couple times my favorite band is the Mars Volta. So growing up, I had this image or this idea as a young kid, as a preteen and teenager, man, I want to be in a rock band. And then as I got older, I was like, okay, I got to do hired gun work so I can survive and stuff. And this kind of lit that fire back in me of, oh, there are people out there that want to start bands. And it spoke to me heavily because I always wanted to be in a band. And so we had a Skype session together since everyone's in different sides of the country. We had a Skype session and I got to meet the rest of the guys and we talked about it and it became Arch Echo. So that was really great. So now here I am in Nashville, right? Thinking that I want to be a hired gun and that I was going to pursue that, and going out and trying to meet people. And then a month in, I just start a band. A prog metal band.
Yeah, in Nashville. Great business move.
Yeah. Absolutely great business move. So here I am, and it's funny because I'm talking to Sophia about this. I'm like, I just met these awesome guys. You ever have that moment where it's funny because bromance is interesting. You meet a guy, you get along, you guys like drums or you like, football or whatever it is that dudes talk about, and then immediately you go and tell your wife.
Yeah.
Hey, I met this awesome dude. He's super cool.
And while you're telling her, he's texting you.
Yeah. It's the craziest thing, right?
Yeah.
So here I am telling her about this band that I just joined and started, essentially. And then it became that.
Was she cool with that, or was she kind of like, dude, what about the session work?
She was really cool with it. Sophia's really awesome in the sense that she's seen me grow. We've been together for 11 years, so we met when I was 15. So she's seen me grow in all the different stages, musically speaking. Started playing gigs when I was 13. So
this is kind of not pure. We really can't talk trash about your wife because she's going to listen to this because she's always jumping in and commenting on the Facebook posts and whatnot.
She's very involved.
She's very involved. Yeah. So if she hears this, hi Sophia. Yeah, we can't talk badly about her.
Dang it.
Oh well, there was her chance.
There's not really much to say.
So
badly.
you ended up getting. No, you're right. There's not. At least from what you told me.
Yeah.
I only met her once in passing, but she seemed very sweet.
She is really cool.
Okay, so let's see. When you first moved here, you ended up having some weekend warrior type work. And for those that don't know, well, maybe it wasn't. Maybe you were on a full-blown tour where you didn't come home at all.
Yeah.
Or did you jump on the bus on Thursday, come home on Sunday, Monday kind of thing?
No, like within my first 3 or 4 months, I landed a gig opening for a pretty big artist, and we were gone for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
So I never did the weekend. I actually haven't done the weekend warrior thing.
Oh, okay.
Which would be kind of an interesting experience.
I've done it before. When I first moved here, I did it working for just random artists. It was the one thing that was really strange about this town. And when I lived in Los Angeles, it was the same way. So you get these towns like this that have people in them that want to be involved in the music business, but they're not really in, but they have a lot of money, so they find random artists to back and put their money behind this artist.
Okay.
So they'll put money behind rehearsals, production, finding musicians, releasing at the time it was CDs, or now it's just songs to stream. They'll end up getting them on the road. I worked for this one artist that she went out, she was 16 maybe, and so she had her mom on the road and her manager and a bunch of us hired guns, and we'd go out on Thursday and come home Sunday, and it was we played like weird auction barns.
Oh, really? I've done gigs like that.
Yeah, places like that where not only are you doing that, but you're going to back up whoever the opening guys are, and you've got charts, and you read like the charts for Rocky Top or whatever.
Really?
Yeah, boy, I messed those up. Anyway, because I didn't know how to read charts when I first got here. It wasn't. I mean, I didn't come here to be Mr. Nashville drummer,
Yeah.
So it was just interesting.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, I totally beefed it, man. I mean, I've got one of those nightmare stories of a gig where it's like you're falling the whole time, and a dream like you're falling. Oh boy, it was bad.
Really?
Yeah, but you know what? I'm still doing fine.
Yeah. What's that experience like? I've never made a mistake.
You just did.
Yeah, I literally
Get out of here.
Gone.
Yeah.
That's funny, man. I've had plenty of those moments. Plenty of those moments where you're like, oh, crap. I've gotten yelled at as growing up playing by the guys that essentially taught me how to do what I do, and it was never drummers. I didn't have like drum teachers growing up. It was always the guitarists that were friends of my dad. They were like, hey, come with me, let's go play this thing.
And they yelled at you on stage?
Or give me the look. Yeah, bass players, man. And I'm thankful for that.
The bass players are the worst?
In my experience, yeah.
Oh, really?
But in the best way, because they'll look at you, and that's like a visual spanking. Like, get back in line.
Yeah.
Whenever you're chopping over Folsom Prison or something.
Can't do it. Have you ever had anybody like really make sort of an ass out of themselves on stage while trying to get you in line, like to the audience, where they made a bigger deal out of it than they should have?
I don't believe so. And the reason I say I don't believe so is because...
You would remember it.
Yeah, I would totally remember. I mean, I've had a lot of situations where people look over at me and I'm like, the audience can see that. Don't do that.
Right.
This is actually a really interesting question, because when you get to... I have this philosophy that a drummer should be doing his job so smoothly that the vocalist or the MD should never have to look at you unless they're smiling or jamming with you.
That's
right?
a great philosophy.
Because then you're not being babysat.
But you're taking into account that you have some sort of... Your abilities as a drummer have some sort of control over whatever errant aspects of that person's personality may just go haywire.
Yes, of course, that's true. And then again, I don't like to be around people like that. I try not to. Or I try not to take gigs with people like that. But I've had situations where guys turn around, they look at me, or like I was saying when I was growing up, I'd get like what are you doing? Why are you playing this polyrhythmic fill over Folsom Prison Blues or whatever?
Did they ever get upset with you for something that was not something to get upset about, and you maybe had to have a conversation afterwards, like, hey, I was in the right, you don't need to get upset over those things?
I don't think so, man. Ooh, you got me digging through my vault of
So like
experiences.
anytime you've been called out, you deserved it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
In my younger years, yeah. Because I used to overplay heavily, man.
Oh.
And I used to play... There's an interesting way of being able to play with loud dynamics and having control over those loud dynamics. But when I was a kid, I was just listening to Travis Barker. So I was like...
Yeah. So between Travis and John Theodore, that's where your overplaying came from?
And Thomas Bridgen.
Oh, yeah. Boy.
Yeah, Thomas, yeah, when I think of those guys playing, yeah, mainly those dudes. Like, I really grew up listening to those guys playing. They're like, they'll make you know that there's a drummer in the audience, or a drummer on stage or whatever. And so I mimicked them, and of course, I was overplaying, and then guys would be like, hey, dude, don't do that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I had an interesting experience when I moved here. Actually, I did a blues jam, and it's, I went on stage, and I'm used to the kind of jams where you just get on stage and play, very like Atlanta, New York-esque, where you just get on stage with musicians and you just play. No one asks what song you want to play or what standard would you guys like to comp over. You just sit down and play. Because I've been forced in situations where I've had to adapt quickly or learn music last minute, and I feel comfortable with that. And it's funny because I was doing a blues jam and I was jamming and I was playing some jazzy stuff, right? Like we were all trading solos and stuff, and then this sound guy comes up. He's like, he was really mad. He's like, "Hey man, this isn't a fusion jam. This is a blues jam." And I looked over at him. I'm a 25-year-old man at this point, right? Like I've seen stuff, I'm seeing stuff, man. And I look over at him and I'm just like, okay, thank you. And I just like, keep playing because everyone was vibing. Everyone was vibing super hard. But I guess they just want, and when you go, that's like too much.
Yeah.
And it wasn't fusion at all.
So you grew up in Houston?
Yeah.
And how old were you when you picked up drumsticks?
When I picked up drumsticks, I was like 2.5 or 3.
And then you kept playing ever since then?
No, I had a break period. So my dad was a drummer and percussionist for our church. My mom sang too. And so growing up, I had percussion all around me. And as a 3-year-old when I had like my first little Mickey Mouse kit playing. And my dad had a Pearl Export back in the day. I mean, who didn't, right? It was a white Pearl Export, and he would sit me on his lap, and I played that like crazy. And then he said when I was like 3, I started hitting it on my own, and I would crawl over to the kit and do stuff. And then from the age of like 7 through 10 or 11, I had no drum set. My dad had gotten rid of his export. I had a CB kit that was given to me for Christmas, and then that was gone. I don't know how. We moved around a lot when I was a kid. So we didn't have a kit. And then I was 12, around 11 or 12, 6th grade age range. My dad got his export back from a good friend of his. So it had been like 6 years, and he gets the export back, and then that was it. That was it. I was just on the kit every day, all day.
At what point did you start getting formal lessons?
I never had formal lessons.
None.
No, I was a self-taught drummer.
What was your greatest resource for learning?
First, it was the Dave Weckl Back to Basics DVD before YouTube existed. And then when YouTube came out, I would just like spam searching Dave Weckl and Vinny Colaiuta, Steve Gadd, guys like that, Virgil Donati. I would just watch them forever.
So, were you advanced enough to grasp technical concepts from the Dave Weckl release? Or at that point, was it simply just sort of a musical inspiration, like, I want to sound that way someday, I got to figure out how to get to that point?
Yeah, it was definitely a blend of both, mainly super inspired because this DVD was actually gifted to me by a guitar player who was my mentor growing up, friend of the family, and he's the guy that would carry me along to his gigs. He gave me this DVD, and it was, check this out, Dave Weckl Back to Basics, and I was like, oh, he had the mullet, the big old hair.
Who, Dave did?
Dave did.
Yeah,
he had the big old hair.
Did he have the jazz shoes?
Yeah, and no sleeves.
Sweet. Did he have the leotard bottoms? Kind of
no,
like
he didn't.
Shiny
I don't
bottoms?
think he did. Now I'm gonna get corrected on the internet. I don't think he did. But you know what really blew my mind? Slide technique. That's when I learned slide technique, and I was like around the same age, 10 or so. And so I was watching his foot, and I remember getting on my kit on that old Pearl Export pedal, and I was practicing that, and that's when it started. Because I got super obsessed with single pedal doubles, like things like that. And he's the one that I learned it from. So, but I was super inspired. I saw his kit and his cymbals were everywhere, and I was like, man, that's what I want.
Yeah.
I remember having a little notepad drawing my dream kit, and it was always massive with cymbals everywhere.
That's awesome.
All kinds of stuff. And that was big. YouTube changed the game for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, now in the era that we live in, you can, if your pipes get destroyed at home, you can Google how to fix them. So I learned so much on Google, on YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube,
Dude.
Google, all of that. Like, do you remember drummerworld.com?
Of course, yeah.
Drummerworld.com was like the grandpa of it.
Yeah.
Because that was before YouTube was a thing.
They're still around.
They're still around.
Bernard's the name of the guy that runs it. Nice guy. He's from Switzerland, I believe.
Dude.
He's been to some Meinl drum festivals in years past, and I would just sit and hang with him. And nice guy.
That page was
that was the deal.
Everything for me.
Back in the day, that was like the forerunner of it all.
Yeah.
Of content and things like that.
And it also had like bio of each drummer and pictures, so you got to learn about them, not just watch them.
Right.
That was so great. I remember when I saw Akira Jimbo for the first time. You remember Akira Jimbo?
Oh yeah, Yamaha guy.
Dude, that melted my brain. That melted my brain. And it's funny because I feel like an old soul, because I grew up on guys that my dad liked, and they're like, you got to check these drummers out. These are the kings, And I'm probably sounding like an old man to all the 17-year-olds right now.
Well, you're 25 and they're 17, so it just goes without saying. I mean, it's okay.
I'm 26.
26. One day they'll be 26 too.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll happen before they know it. They'll wake up and they'll be 26.
So if you're listening, this is a message from Chris and I. Please save your money. Start investing. Think about your future. Just because you're 17 doesn't mean that you can't think about your future.
Right. Don't just.
I tell my little brother just turned 18. So, and you and I have been talking about this. this is something that really intrigues me. The whole, like, preparing for the rest of your future. As a musician, that's kind of a big deal.
Is he a musician?
He's not. He wants to be a professional fighter. And so, like an MMA fighter.
Yeah.
And as a musician, though, sometimes there's instability. You know, like you're like...
I like how you say sometimes.
Yeah.
Pretty much all the time.
It's like, what am I going to do next?
Yeah.
You know? So thinking about, like, retirement and all that is important at an early age.
Yeah, anything you can put away at a young age is... I can't believe I'm telling a 17-year-old to, squirrel $50 a month away in an Roth IRA. But if they did, dude, they'd be so set later on.
I spammed my little brother. Like I said, he just turned 18. I spammed him with links. I was like, check this out, please.
Did you send him some of the stuff I sent you?
No.
The one ticker I sent you?
That would be super deep for him. His brain would explode.
Okay, that's all right.
Investopedia is awesome.
It is.
I've spent quite some time on there.
That is a great page.
It's a great resource.
Yeah, for anybody out there who's thinking about any kind of savings for the future, Investopedia is the way to go.
It really is.
So, you said you were into your dad's drummers.
Yeah.
Who was your dad's, who was the king of all drummers for him?
Well, my dad was super into salsa, merengue. So for him, the guys that really inspired him, because he, by trade, like his real craft and his passion is woodwork. He's an amazing carpenter, artist, absolute artist. And drum set was only a fill-in for him because the church needed it. He loves percussion.
Gotcha.
If he could do something, it'd be just percussion. You go to my dad's house and he has congas and all that stuff at home. So he used to listen to a lot of salsa music, merengue music, and that's what really inspired my dad. He used to listen to like Scorpions and bands like that, but that wasn't what I heard when I was a kid. I heard more salsa than anything, and every now and then he'd throw guys up like Vinicola Yuta or like Dave Weckl. Because those are the guys he was familiar with.
Where's your dad from?
Costa Rica.
And where's your mom from?
My mom was born in the States, in Houston, but her family's Costa Rican.
Gotcha, okay.
And then, of course, I'm like, I think a 16th Chinese?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I think I'm like a 16th Chinese.
So, we did a Meinl Drum Festival in Mexico City.
Oh.
And all of the, extreme, all the metal fans there, every one of them, metal fans everywhere, they wear black t-shirts.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like this, it's weird. In Mexico City, it's like this army of dudes wearing the black metal shirts. And so they all the guys we were with, our hosts from our distributor, Goner, they were referring to them as the black shirts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so what would that be called in Spanish?
Las camisas negras?
Dude, I've always thought that'd be the best band name of all time.
Or it just depends, right? I mean, that's what comes to mind. It can be said in a lot of different ways.
Did you say Las Camisas Negras?
The black shirts, yeah.
Yeah, dude, band name right there. Or just the title of your next EP or something.
Yes.
I think that'd be cool.
And then no one would know what it means.
Right, well.
Unless you speak Spanish.
Unless they're in Mexico City and they're they're talking about us.
You know what would be amazing? A black sombrero that says La Camisa Negra. The black shirt, singular. Because it's not a shirt, it's a sombrero.
Gotcha.
See how we could get really deep with that.
Throw people off the scent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. So
how was that experience in Mexico City? What was the temperature like? Was it pretty hot? I don't think I've ever been there.
No. When we were there, I'm trying to remember what time of year it was. Whenever we were there, it was not hot. Okay. And it was mild. That was it. Kind of humid, but I expected as much.
Yeah. Do you have spicy food? The Mexican cuisine is known to be spicy.
We did, but it wasn't it wasn't anything out of control. It wasn't like if you were to eat Thai food or something like that.
The Thais have some spicy food.
Yeah, this was just, I was used to it. I had the best mole I've ever had in my life. And that made sense to me because I asked our host, when I had just gone down there with my colleague Norbert ahead of time to go sort of scope the scene out and figure out, make sure the theater where we were going to host it was cool.
Yeah.
Our second night there, I asked our host, when he said, "Where do you want to go eat?" I said, "Hey, please take us where..." I didn't ask, I told him. I said, "Take us where you would go to eat food, local food from here that's good for you."
That was a good call.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you got to do. When you're in Rome,
yes,
do as the Romans
do.
Do
as the Parisians do.
Right. So he took us to this place, and the mole, there must have been some old lady in the kitchen
totally
making it, because it's like, what, 30 ingredients or more to make mole?
Yeah.
And I would assume the old ladies, I kind of figured that the old ladies are ones that know best because they've been perfecting it along the way.
Yeah, abuelita knows what's best, man.
And then we had some kind of dessert tequila that I'd never had. Tequila for me growing up was like shoot it as fast as you can and puke as fast as you can.
Yeah, but they sip.
But this was like sweet and it was chilled and it was fantastic.
Do you have any mezcal?
Nope. No, dude, I don't think I've even ever had mezcal.
There's an interesting difference between tequila and mezcal.
Really?
Yeah, like the way that it's prepared or the way that it's distilled, and also the regions that it comes from. Because it all comes from agave plants, but like the distilling process is really interesting.
Butchertown Hall here in Nashville has a pretty big selection of mezcal.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I've actually never tasted mezcal.
Me neither.
At least I don't believe I have.
So you're talking about something you've never tasted?
Yeah. Well, I know it because I was interested.
Yeah.
I was interested enough to Google it.
Yeah.
And because I know a few people that love mezcal, and I'm like, I'm interested. And so then I found out about the distilling process, and it's a very earthen process. There's like literally in the earth. It's cooked in the earth for the mezcal, and then the different regions. So from that, you can assume what the flavor profile is going to be like. But I'd love to try some. We should try some.
We'll try some.
That's what we're going to do.
So let's see. Fast forward to something you just got done doing.
Yeah.
So you've been in Nashville and you've had work with Arch Echo where you guys have gone out on tours. And consistently, it seems like the level of work you've been on, your level of tours have grown in profile.
Yeah.
You just came back a month or so ago from a month-long tour where you were playing drums for the legendary... he was known originally as a shred metal guitar player in the 80s, Tony MacAlpine.
Yeah.
And he's still sort of a fusion metal guitar player. You played drums for him, but then you brought the Arch Echo guys out and you guys opened up.
Yeah, totally.
So you did double duty.
I did double duty.
And that's a lot of drumming. Like,
dude,
the note density value each night must have been insane.
Dude, let me tell you. So I didn't underestimate the idea of double dutying. I just had never done it to this level. So first of all, it was an amazing experience playing with Tony. He's had like my favorite drummers play with him.
Such as?
Virgil Donati, Steve Smith. I went through a huge Steve Smith phase. Well, his drumming. When I was younger. You know, bald Steve Smith. Not before that. But, man. So, when I saw that was part of the discography, I was like, why do you laugh?
I laugh because of the way you said bald Steve Smith.
Is it different, Steve Smith?
Well, it is, and I'm not gonna go back and tell you that story again. But I told you that story about me getting on his bad side while waiting for food in a restaurant. What's funny is that I was referencing hairy Steve Smith to bald Steve Smith, and he didn't like it. I don't think either that, or he just didn't like me.
Dude,
I'm not sure.
There are two different Steve Smiths.
Yeah,
like,
no, of course.
Yeah,
but bald Steve Smith is now back. Making money from the music he made as Harry Steve Smith.
Dude,
and good
talk
for
about
him.
A smart move.
Dude, good for him.
Yes, talk about a smart move.
I would love to play those songs. If I were him, it would be so much fun to go back and revisit that, and I'm sure he's having a blast.
Man, I had an interesting experience where I bumped into him at it was like a coffee shop or something. I was geeking out and I didn't know what to say, and so I said, "Hey man, that ride belt pattern."
Hey, dude, you're stealing my lines now.
But so, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so Tony's had these killers playing with him, absolute monsters, and so I'm like having to learn these parts, you know, and time crunch. The first time I played for Tony was for the Monsters of Rock cruise, and I had like 8 days, maybe less. I'm sure it was less. I think it was 5 days to memorize a lot of his discography, and I don't have the luxury of always being behind my kit because of Penelope. I have a daughter at home. She's 15 months. She was a little younger than that, so it's difficult to practice on the kit. So a lot of my practice is internalizing by listening, and then patterns are patterns, and so I just vomit them out when I need to play them. So the first time I had to learn so much music, right? But fast forward to the Arch Echo tour, I was sprinting hills prior to this tour. I was getting cardio ready because I knew I like to play with energy, and I'm like I like to hit hard and play loud and all this stuff and play fast, and to keep that up, you have to be in shape. And this actually ties into like new ventures that I've done in my life to keep my body more healthy and stay aware of a lot of things as far as what I consume and how I work out is concerned. I'm not a crazy gym rat, you know, but I do like to stay in shape. And the tour was intense. there was a point where I made the mistake of not drinking water. I didn't hydrate, and my right leg cramped on the last song. And the last song is I forgot the name of it, but it's like for like 3 minutes, and my right leg cramped, and so I had to drop out. So I was playing kick patterns with my left foot, just for the sake of not destroying the rest of what I had left in my right leg.
Wow. Did you have to do that for the rest of the song?
I had to do it for about a half a verse or a verse, and then my leg calmed down and I brought it back in. But that was really bad. And there were 20 days where we played back to back to back to back to back without an off day. 2 sets. That's 40 sets.
And that's with all the travel that goes in between those sets, and there's no really quality sleep.
No.
Yeah, that'll wear on you.
Oh yeah, totally wore on me. So I was actually taking my multivitamins every day. I went and bought some protein, because you don't when you finish a set and it's one. You're laughing at me.
I'm laughing.
No, you do.
No, I'm not laughing at you.
I'm gonna cry, man.
I'm not laughing at you.
I'm getting old. I know.
No, when you said multivitamins.
Yeah, I was an old man for a second.
No, it made me laugh because I was thinking about how different it is now with people doing multivitamins on the road, and I've got my green smoothies and all this stuff, and actually, you know what? It makes total sense.
Yeah.
Now we know the old cliche about sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah.
But it's funny. Back in the day, for those of you that don't know, there was a TV station called VH1, and they would have these VH1 Behind the Music specials where they would do a complete documentary on every band. And inevitably, at some point, and these bands were all from like the 70s, maybe
I saw the Dio one
from the 80s.
back in the day.
Right. Now, probably this didn't happen with Dio because he was smart, but it happened with a lot of others. And so inevitably, at some point in the show, you would hear, like when it break for a commercial, you'd hear, "Next, tragedy strikes when so-and-so shit the bed because he took way too much heroin." Like,
dude!
And the thing is, so these guys would be out on the road and they would be just crunching it, just like you guys were doing, back-to-back, 20 dates in a row, 40 dates in a row, never a day off, shitty sleep, shitty food, like, just terrible life.
Yes.
And what do they do to counteract that? They take heroin, or they drink really hard, or
I don't get it.
They smoke way too much weed. It's like, now some people might disagree with me and say, well, smoking too much weed's okay, and I don't know that I would necessarily say, argue with that. I'm not condoning it, but I just
inhaling anything into your lungs that isn't oxygen isn't good for your lungs.
It can't be.
But there are other. I mean, whatever.
Right.
We don't.
My point is there's plenty of people out there today who think of it medicinally.
Sure.
So I'll separate that from I'm not going to lump it in with heroin.
That's fair. That's very fair.
But the point is, what should have happened was when it broke for a commercial, these guys should have been like, instead of taking multivitamins and drinking green smoothies like they should have, these dumbasses resorted to heroin and cocaine.
Dude, I don't get it.
What did they think was going to happen? So I guess my point is, I'm laughing because while it seems sort of silly and not very bold and daring, I think it's actually really smart the way you handled it and the way a lot of people handle it now, as opposed to then. Back then, it's just like, dumbass. What did you think was going to happen?
It's funny because the Archeco guys they would tease me.
Oh, are they the ones doing heroin while you're like...
Oh, yeah, they're hardcore
hardcore
heroin guys.
Is that why Joey never answers the phone anymore?
That's very true. Joey, answer your freaking phone, dude.
Come on.
No, they don't do drugs, but they would. It's because I had like a Walmart bag, or just a plastic bag of a container of protein, a container of creatine, my multivitamins. I bought magnesium pills for bone and muscle recovery and to help my bone density and all that. And then I always had like some shaker with me. So I looked like I was a walking GNC.
Shaker, you mean like for a smoothie?
Yeah, smoothie shaker.
Yeah.
I was a walking GNC. And they called it my they're like, "Man, you're taking a lot of steroids. Is that your little weenie juice?" So they called it my little weenie juice.
Little weenie juice.
So they were just like, "Hey, where's your weenie juice bag?" And then it gets to the point. I mean, you've had this experience. You do dummy checks when you're leaving a venue to make sure you don't leave anything, and then the weenie juice became such a thing that it wasn't even like them trying to be funny. They were like, "Hey, you got your weenie juice, right?" I'm like, "Oh, thanks, right." And I go back and I get my multivitamins from the green room.
That's funny.
Or whatever. But it changed everything. It really did. It really helped me out. I ran out of multivitamins, and when I came home, and I felt so sluggish.
Oh.
Bought some new ones. I mean, because it has everything in there.
Yeah.
Right? So I say all that to say it's extremely important to stay healthy as a drummer. Like, as drummers, we're pretty active dudes. We're not lazy like guitar players. or like bass player. I'm just kidding. No, but we are active, you know, and you have to stay healthy, especially on the road. You're right. You don't get good sleep. You don't always eat well, and there's a lot of moving around. It also like affects the way that you think.
Well, yeah, I mean, not getting enough sleep and not eating correctly, it'll definitely affect you mentally.
Yeah.
Even if you were eating correctly, but you weren't sleeping well, mentally
Yeah.
you're shot.
And I have a pretty high threshold for things, like just in general. I can cope well with situations that are difficult, typically.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, and I've learned that through having to experience things that are difficult, and not everyone's like that. So it can be very tough. You know, a lot of younger guys that get into touring, they're like, oh, I can't wait to do this. And then they get on the road and they haven't slept for 7 days and they have to play a show, and you have to smile to all the fans and shake their hands and give them a genuine experience. That's a serious mental state to be in, because it is wonderful. It is an absolute blessing to be able to go out and play music for people. But there is the reality of it is taxing and draining if you're not careful. You know?
Did you have to live with anybody on the road and with the Tony gig that was less than cool?
Uh,
That sort of brought a bad vibe, or was it like a good crew?
everyone's pretty cool.
Cool, that's good.
I mean, over time, certain things that people have isms. Like I have isms. Like I'm a really energetic guy, you know, and I'm pretty out there when it comes to like my energy, and you know, and that's like always at 100 most of the time. And so like that's my ism. That's the thing that I have that I'm sure might bug people. So I've had to learn how to sometimes turn that off. That's difficult for me because I am not introverted at all. I'm a huge extrovert, and I enjoy being around people. I like to talk. I do just the dumbest things, and so I've had to learn to turn that off. But whenever you're with a group of guys and you each individually can learn how to fix your own issues, because everyone has something, you know.
Not me.
Yeah, not you. Yeah, exactly. No, you're the man.
I'm cool.
That's why I'm hanging out with you.
Come on,
I'm
man.
trying to get you to.
That's why you're with Meinl.
Help me. That's right. That's very true. But it's interesting, man. Touring's interesting, right?
Did anybody give you some sort of cue that maybe your ism might be getting on their nerves, or did you see a look that someone shot you, or did they say something snarky?
I'm pretty good at reading people.
Or you just okay.
I'm pretty good at reading people, and so I can tell when someone's like just not having it, and I'll stay away from that person to give them to, you know. Sometimes I know that I can be overbearing.
So like when you were driving the van and everybody else was sitting in the very back seat, that was your cue.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Or when I'm
like in the trailer.
or when I'm in a random shell, looking around where's everybody at?
They left you.
They left me. That's my cue.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun though, man. I gotta say, look, for everyone that is wanting to tour and you want to start a band, I think this would be great to talk about, actually, like just the process of living the professional life, because not too many people really go into detail about all the great and difficult things.
Yeah.
But firstly, you have to stay healthy. I don't party. Like, every now and then the guys and I will have some beers, or I really enjoy whiskey, so I'll have some whiskey, but I never get wrecked. I'd rather take my multivitamins, you know.
Yeah.
For me, the purpose of being on the road in the first place is to share music with the world, you know. Like it's so great to be able to go to a city that you've never been to. People have listened to your music, and then you don't only just play for them, but you get to go shake their hands and say hi. And that experience to me is literally why we're out there. That experience, you know, traveling and touring for me is not to be able to get super messed up.
Right. Some people tend to look at touring as something where they get to go do all the stuff they're not allowed to do at home.
Like a crazy vacation.
Right.
That's not at all it.
Every night's Friday night. Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to do it.
No, of course not.
The
Just
body-
like all those guys that burned out on
Yeah.
VH1's
The
Behind
body
Music.
can't handle that.
No, they can't. And so now you're home from doing the Tony tour. What's next for Arch Echo? You guys have one release, correct?
We just released our sophomore album. Yeah.
Where is my copy?
I got a whole goodie bag prepared to send you. I'm just gonna spam you one day, and you're gonna wish I didn't do it.
So when did you release it?
May.
This is how bad of an AR guy I really am.
I'm bad at my own band. I don't remember when we released it. Sometime in May.
Okay. And so was it a soft release, or did you make a big deal out of it?
We promoted it nicely. We've been very fortunate with Arch Echo, because the band has existed for coming up on 2 years. In November, it'll be 2 years. Around 2 years. And with 2 albums released and the amount of, traction we've gotten, we're really happy about it. So the most recent release is called You Won't Believe What Happens Next. It's kind of like a little bit of a jab at people that use clickbaity titles on YouTube,
Yeah, sure.
Like,
but it's also cool, like, it's your next release.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you won't believe what happens next. It all is just horrible. You didn't expect it.
Yeah.
You didn't expect it, but we got you.
That's funny.
So, but it's really fun. So what's next is we're going to Europe/UK for a tour in September with Vola and Rendezvous Point. That's going to be crazy. We're playing Euroblast at the end of that.
How long's that tour last?
That's about 3.5 weeks.
And everything you guys do is completely self-funded and self-managed, right?
Yes.
See,
Yes.
that's another cool thing. So,
I mean, for the most part.
your business model
Yeah.
is mostly self-sufficiency.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You've maybe had some things brought to your attention of some people that might like to work with you, and people have been cool, whoever's wanted to work with you, but maybe it's been like you'd rather just make sure you're absolutely the masters of your own destiny
Yes.
at this point.
Yeah. Papa Rafowitz, Adam Rafowitz's father, our guitarist father, was gracious enough to loan us about $500,000 when we start. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, sweet. Can I be an art checker?
No, Papa Rafowitz has been a huge. I mean, everyone's families have been a huge blessing, but Papa Rafowitz, he gave us a good amount of money. Nothing crazy, just enough to be able to, like, hey, go to the studio and make a record happen. And that was pivotal for us because we didn't have funds. And the fans, when they purchase, that literally helps us keep the lights on, so to speak, And I don't feel like most artists are communicating this with their fans like they should. And the honest truth is, yeah, we would love for you to buy merch and buy the albums because that literally keeps the project moving. If you love it, support it.
Yeah.
And in this day and age where anyone can record an album because of the technology that we have, it's really great to be DIY. You get to be the master of your own destiny, and you get to release what you want, when you want. My drum parts are my drum parts.
And you don't have to give a percentage of it to somebody. Now, granted, if you got into a position where you really couldn't manage the day-to-day of it because it was just such big business, then okay, bring someone on board and give them a cut. But until then, do as much as you can and take as much as you can.
Yeah. I feel that the most important things for bands that are up and coming to have are booking agents and then eventually management. Your booking agent is pivotal because they're going to have contacts that you're not gonna. And then the management comes along whenever you just can't handle anything else.
Yeah, they usually come in when all the hard work's been done.
That's so true.
That's what they do.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're touring in Europe, and then we're going to go to Japan.
Sweet.
For the first time.
You told me that. That's awesome.
I'm so excited.
When is that?
That's in November.
Wow.
We'll be there for 2 days. So, quick little trip, and then we're back.
You know what cities
Yeah,
you're
we're
playing?
going to Tokyo and Osaka.
Wow.
I'm so excited for that.
Dude, I'm excited for you.
I have always wanted to experience, like, a big culture shock, and Asia is just, like, a different world compared to the United States, and I cannot wait to experience it.
2 shows. How many days will you actually be there?
I think we have an off day at the end.
Cool.
If not, then it'll just be play, fly to the next town, play, and then leave.
Right.
But I think we have an off day.
But you set foot on Japanese soil. You shake hands with Japanese people.
They're hospitable.
Right.
They're really hospitable people.
You get to go live their life for a couple days,
Yeah.
which you would never do otherwise. And you
Yeah.
do that because you play drums.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, I really enjoy being a part of a band. It's nice to do, because as drummers, we sometimes want to be just drummers. Just
Right.
play for the sake of other drummers. Social media exists, and everyone can just upload their stuff, but no one's paying their bills being a Facebook or Instagram drummer.
Well, it's funny
You know?
that you say that because you came to my attention because of how active you were on social media.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you did, you pretty much you had just gotten going with Arch Echo.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when we filmed the Meinl videos, the first round we did with you, Sorry, that would lead people to believe that there's a round number 2, and I don't know if I've made that decision. No. Yeah. So when we did those videos, you played the Archeco stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I asked you to play a bunch of the stuff that you played on your socials.
Yeah.
It was, you played these killer Archeco tunes. So it's kind of funny how that works.
Mm-hmm. Social media is interesting, right?
Yeah. It changed everything. And there's plenty of people who've caught up with it in our industry, and then there's plenty of people who are so, behind the times. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I think I've actually heard someone still refer to it as new media.
Fair.
That's crazy.
That's fair, though. I can understand where their brain's at.
Yeah.
But it's not new.
No, but it's not new.
And if you think about how fast everything moves nowadays, definitely not.
No. So Mike, I was kind of wondering this on the way over here. I was curious about if you don't mind sharing it with us. You don't have to, but so you go out, you do your Archeco stuff, you sell albums, Bandcamp. Is that how you sell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bandcamp, iTunes.
Do you sell merch on Bandcamp?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're with Merch Booth that handles all of our distribution, so they kind of handle everything. But yeah, we sell through there.
So you do that. That's one form of income for you. How, when you're not doing Archeco stuff, or Archeco's not yielding a nice paycheck in the mail to you from distributions from Bandcamp and, did you say Merch Booth?
Yeah, Merch Booth.
Okay, so where does the money come from? What do you do?
So I sell a lot of heroin, so if you know anyone that needs it.
Me.
Yeah, no, just kidding.
Sign up.
It's a great question. So I teach lessons. So I do lessons, and every now and then
in person and also
in
Skype?
person and on Skype.
Okay.
Which is fantastic. Like the fact that I could meet someone in Portugal or in Sweden, that's pretty cool.
Cool.
Speaking of Sweden, I'll be there. I'm so excited to be in Sweden. I want to meet a Viking. You think I can meet a Viking?
Descendants of, at the very least.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna eat a lot of fish. And then also, whenever I'm not on the road, I work at a steakhouse.
This is a new one you're going to, right? Like a really super fancy pants, highfalutin.
Yeah. Like, I'm very fortunate that I got the job there, because this is the kind of place where you have to be employed for a while before you can even get in.
And they're cool about you leaving and going on the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're in Nashville. There are a lot of artists.
Right.
So let me dig into that, actually, because I want to say something that I think is extremely important. So I'm very glad that you asked this. As a musician who is firstly a father and a husband, I have to be able to provide. It's whenever being in the music world is a lot more difficult because the pay is not as consistent. Unless you're a super massive band or you're with a huge artist, you're not really making the money that people think you're making. And for transparency's sake, I think that's extremely important. And so I do work in the food business, steakhouse. Like, we have amazing Wagyu and a tomahawk ribeye. You ever seen a tomahawk ribeye?
No.
I think it's insane. It's 36 ounces and a massive bone. It's essentially the cut, like the entire rib cut.
Have you ever seen one person eat one?
No. It's typically to share, but there are people that do that. But, insane bottles of wine, crazy collection of whiskey. So it's like, we have some pretty high-profile people that come in. And I've been fortunate to have that because now I can do music just for the sake of music.
Right.
As opposed to before, where I was in Houston, man, dude, I was playing every single weekend, multiple gigs. I was doing cover stuff just so that I can get the paycheck. And I got burnt out so quickly. Sophia knows, I would come home complaining, I don't want to do this anymore. I was smelling like smoke because I would go to certain bars that smell like smoke. My gear would smell like smoke. I'm around people that are getting drunk. Just like, man, that doesn't affect me. It's not like it's going to, influence me to drink and all that stuff. But it's like, man, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
And I'm playing drums, mind you. And I'm getting a paycheck to play drums. And when you look back, it's like, you were complaining about playing drums. It's more than that. Because I didn't want to be stuck in that position. Now, I can choose who I work with and what I do more selectively.
Until you get to the point, if and when you get to the point where you can then stop the steakhouse gig and apply all of your efforts towards being a drummer full time, because you'll find yourself in a position that augments that income.
Yeah.
And bam.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty smart.
And also, whenever I'm not on the road, I can do something. You know, I can do something, and it's great. And I think you should. You and I kind of discussed this quite a bit recently, but everyone, especially if you're like in your mid-20s, or if you do have a family or whatever, and you're doing music, maybe you're not in your mid-20s, maybe you're 35, maybe you're 40, whatever, and you want to do drums, you're like, man, pride hits you. Pride smacks you in the face, and it says, well, if you can't just do it by being a musician or a drummer, then you're really not doing it. That's not necessarily the case. Anyone who's been successful, they expand their investments. You know, some guys that have gotten big names in the drumming world, well, what do? They create lesson packs, or they do this, or they do that. It's not just gigs. So when you can expand that, you're making more sources for income.
Right, and you know, some people might say, well, dude, you know, being a waiter at a steakhouse isn't really your passion. It's not what you love. You're just doing it because you have to. It's like, well, yeah, but you know what? I love being able to do what I want to do drumming-wise, and this affords me the ability to actually do that. So, yeah, actually I'm okay with the highfalutin steakhouse gig, because when I do sit behind the drums, it's all music I want to play. Yeah. Which is really important.
Dude, yes, it keeps me so pure in what I want to do.
And you're home for your wife and daughter. You're not sweating the bills.
Nope.
Everything's cool. Dude, that's totally cool.
Yeah. I've gotten recognized.
Oh, that's awesome. Dude, that's super cool.
You know, it's so interesting though, because I'm like in my workplace. Someone's like, it's funny.
What did they know you from?
Being Richie the drummer.
So like on Instagram?
On social media.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's
like,
awesome.
Yo, they told the hostess once. I had this guest come in. He was super awesome, super nice, and it just so happened to be my table. But they asked the hostess, "Hey, is that Richie Martinez over there?"
Dude, I totally get that. The other day...
That was so funny.
I had a buddy come into town the other day, lifelong friend, and we went to Craft Brewed on 8th Avenue, and we were having some beers.
I've never been there. I'm assuming it's awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
They have a great selection. Super cool staff. Completely chill vibe. It's not loud.
Yeah.
It's very quiet. You can talk. So we're having a couple of beers, and this girl comes walking in, and I'm thinking, I know this person. Where do I know her from? It's so strange. I've never met her, but I know her.
Yeah.
And it took me a second to figure it out, but then I realized, oh, she's one of those guitar players that keeps coming up in my feed on Instagram. Her name was, because I looked her up that day. I just looked up like female guitar player as a tag, and then in the feed her face came up. So I clicked on it. Haley Powers was her name. So she's she's Nashville based, good guitar player. But it's funny. I recognized her as an Instagram guitar
That's
player.
really interesting.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny how that works.
It happens at like Barista Parlor whenever I'm at Barista Parlor, because I'm always at Barista Parlor. Too much. Sorry, Sofia.
Hey, you were that guy that was here yesterday.
Yeah, you're the guy. Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, it's oh man, yeah, being that whole situation where someone's like, "You're so and so," and it's not at a drum shop or at NAMM. It's pretty funny.
So real quick, we've actually been gabbing now for 55 minutes. No
really?
Kidding. Yeah. So anybody that's like listened this far through, thank you.
Yeah. I could go for like another 7 days.
Yeah,
There's so many things to talk about.
So we'll wrap this up, because I had another question though that came to mind actually while we were talking. Interestingly enough, I would say like in traditional in the old traditional sense of artist relations and what you have to consider about an artist in terms of giving them support. When I first brought you on board, you had been in touch with me a little bit. I'd held off for a little while just to kind of see, just cause. Yeah. Sometimes I just hold off just to see how the person will act about me holding off. I know that sounds like I'm playing mind games. I'm not.
No, that's brilliant.
But I just want to make sure, I don't know about brilliant, but I just want to make sure they're not going to be a pain in my ass. But then Halpern went to bat for you when we were sitting at a booth.
Did he?
In a restaurant.
Oh, you're going to make me blush.
We were sitting well, no one could see you, but we were sitting at a restaurant in Poland, in Warsaw. It was after the Meinl Drum Festival there, and we're having a late night dinner, and Halpern's just going off like, dude, you got to bring Richie on board. What are you doing, man? He's going to be great for you. The guy's a workhorse. Like, he's really in your corner. And I'm not imitating Halpern in a silly way. Like, he was very emphatic about it. So I bring you on board, and then at the time, I guess you were already working with Mapex.
Yeah.
And I don't know about Sticks and Heads at that time, if you'd had a deal with anybody.
Or I had been talking to Mapex and all the people. I think Meinl was my first.
Okay, so we're your first.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it too.
We got there first.
Yeah!
But then, shortly thereafter, Mapex, and then...
And then ProMark and Evans.
ProMark and Evans. So...
And Drum Dots.
Are you going to tell me about any drumming shoes that you endorse?
No, absolutely not.
Good. Okay.
No.
Nothing wrong with drumming shoes, but like when people have this list of shit that goes on in my
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Just tell me about your drums, cymbals, sticks, and heads.
Yeah. And drumming shoes and all that.
Yeah. Don't tell me about your protein bars you endorse.
Oh,
Like,
really?
Yeah. I mean,
You don't want me to tell you about the protein bars?
Do you list that in the credits of your albums?
Dude, yeah.
All right. Anyway, my question, or kind of what was crossing my mind, was you really secured the help of companies at in an early point in your career.
Yeah.
And what do you think? Don't worry about Meinl, but the other guys. What do you think sold the other guys on you?
I'm Hispanic, and I'm the only Hispanic guy on the roster.
Your name is Token.
Yeah, exactly. I wear that badge proudly. Well, so firstly, let me just say that is absolutely amazing that Matt would do such a kind thing. He's been such a great dude. Like, that really is awesome to hear, and I'm very grateful. And I'm very happy to be on the team as well, and you know that. I dork out about this all the time. But I think that it's funny because the same mentor that gave me that back to basics from, I have to mention his name. His name is Moncho Canizales. Moncho. And he did so much for me as a kid growing up musically. And he always told me, don't ask yourself the question, what does that guy have that I don't? Ask yourself the question, what do I have to offer that no one else can? Right? And throughout my entire drumming life, that's the question I've been asking myself and trying to look for the answer. And I feel that one of the many answers that I've given myself that plays into how I present myself online and how I present myself as a business or as a brand is just me, my personality. And I feel that I'm a very genuine person. I enjoy relationships, like truly enjoy relationships. I'm not one of those guys that will just scroll through my phone and show you all the contacts that I've made in the past 3 years in Nashville. You know, I have like a list of maybe 4 or 5 people that I'm really invested in, right? Because relationships will get you everywhere in life. And it's a great way of being symbiotic. So I invest heavily into people, and I'm very genuine when it comes to the things that I enjoy playing. You know, I have to absolutely say this. There's so many musicians, not just drummers, that will play a certain drum company, and then some other company comes along, they're like, hey, we'll give you this deal. Do you want it? And just to get the deal, they take it.
Like the thrill of the chase, you mean?
Yeah, well,
nice to be wanted.
Nice to be wanted, or just to be able to say that they endorse a company. And I've mentioned this to you many times. Like I always play Meinl Cymbals. There's no reason why. Even I'm
I've
serious.
got a video.
I'm serious,
stating
man.
as such.
I mean it. And the reason I mean it is because you've expressed, and of course everyone else, you guys have expressed and demonstrated to me that the same thing that I value most, you value most, which is relationships. You know, it's at the end of the day, who really cares, like, about instruments when you've got people that you can invest into? You know, at the end of the day, instruments are instruments. You know how many A&R reps have been with Pearl and then go elsewhere, and then all of a sudden you stop talking to them because they're not with Pearl anymore? No, it's about relationships. And that's something that I harp on so much, that I'm so big on, that I think, or at least I'd like to believe that that's visible. I like to believe that people can see that through not only the way I play, but the way I present myself.
Yeah, sure.
Because those things that are not necessarily quantifiable fully are what make you valuable.
So these guys, so the dude at the time who was the guy you contacted at Diodario, they're up in New York on Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
You're down here in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
How did you translate that thing that's
Mm-hmm.
you, either in an email or over the phone, to that person and make them believe it enough at such an early stage in your career to agree to bring you on board?
I bribed them.
With heroin.
Yes, exactly. Actually, the way that you construct an email, like there should be an entire class for young people on how to construct a professional email.
So gimme shit is not a good thing to tell.
Absolutely. I mean, it depends on the context, right?
Yeah.
I would text you that all the time.
Dude, I literally,
Right?
I've had some emails where if you just wanted to boil it down to like total brass tacks, that's probably what it should have said.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the general vibe.
Yeah.
It just blows me away every time. Doesn't happen often, thank God. But when it does,
I think that. Oh my gosh, that gets me so much.
it's okay. You know.
But
whatever.
constructing an email is important. You know, Sophia works for a record label under Sony, and she does administrative work. So she's always getting people that are like trying to spiel themselves, right? And the spiel is key because the spiel tells you really what's going on in that person's heart. What do they really want? At the end of the day, everyone has a company that they want to endorse. That's given, right? That's understood. We all understand that. But it's more than that. And so when I construct those emails or when I reach out to people, I let them know, first of all, I'm like, hey, I hope you're doing well. I hope this message finds you well. Things like that. Those things that you should always ask, right? Always.
Yeah.
I hope this finds you well.
Right.
Or whatever. Don't be like, hey, my name is so-and-so. I play in front of 30,000 people. Like, no one really cares.
Yeah.
Really. And so being able to present that in a written document is huge. Demonstrate your passion for the companies that you really love. And if you really love playing Meinl, please play Meinl. Don't if blank company comes over and they're willing to offer you 30% discount and you're like, well, I guess I'm not playing these Meinl cymbals that I paid for because this other company wants to stamp their name on me. I cannot stand that. And I understand that some people want building blocks, but you have to really check yourself internally. You have to be introspective and see where your heart is. Are you doing it just because you want to be able to say you're endorsed? Or you're like, hey, this would be a great opportunity for me to build relationships with people and hopefully I demonstrate myself to be valuable for the company that I eventually want to be with.
Right.
Very different things. So as I'm typing these things, I'm demonstrating that in the way that I speak to people. You know? Like with us, there's so many times where I just ask how you're doing. Or even if I do need something for a tour, I always make sure to ask how you're doing because I genuinely want to know how you're doing. And the last thing I want is for you to look at your phone and a message pops up and it's Richie Martinez like, hey, I need cymbals. Why? That's horrid, you know?
Yeah, no, I get it. You have to be very cognizant about how you come across in everything you do, and I'm sure that had a big part of securing those deals, with everybody. When you sent that email, they were actually able to, how like when you type and you can almost hear the person speaking?
Totally.
It was probably a case of that.
Totally.
You just know how to do that well. So maybe for those people who are not really 100% sure of their pitch, of their skills in pitching themselves, maybe they should get a second or third or fourth opinion.
Yeah.
From somebody who's not so close to their situation.
Yeah.
Like, hey, how does this sound? And
I'm really passionate about that.
Well, did you ever have anybody turn you down?
I only reached out to companies that I played and wanted to be with.
Gotcha. Perfect.
So,
dude, I love it.
So no. I mean, yes. Actually, Chris Brewer, yes, I've had someone turn me down.
Oh, it was me. I
That's
turned you
right.
down the first time.
That's right. You said, nobody wants you.
Go eat worms.
You're gross. You smell disgusting. Please take a shower.
Right.
I remember that email. I have a screenshot of it.
Dude.
No, I'm just kidding.
Send
You
it
did
to
not
me.
say that. But yeah, I mean, you can't expect to bat and then get it a home run on the first try.
Right.
And I appreciate that you did that because that you're looking out for what's best for the name. That's a name. Like someone has spent their life to create this business and everything that is done under that business represents that name.
Dude, I take it totally seriously because and most people probably don't think about it this way. But I mean, this is Mr. Meinl's company, and
yes,
and he's not a nameless, faceless person. I've had plenty of dinners with him. He's the first picture I ever have of my daughter smiling. She's in a winter coat that Mr. and Mrs. Meinl bought for her.
Yeah.
So like, I take it seriously when I think about who comes on board, and I kick myself if I've ever have somebody who sort of slips through the impression management cracks and they've fooled me and I thought they were cool and they turn out to be.
Do you
not
deal
so
with
cool.
that?
You mean, do I shut them down?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was told by Chris Coleman and Sput one time at dinner. Norbert and I were both told this by the two of them, that we have a reputation amongst some people of being kind of a little bit hard ass. Maybe just not cool is how some people would put it. And you can't be liked by everybody. I don't expect to be. But yeah, I was told that we're kind of hard. Some people are afraid to approach us because they're afraid of we'll just say it like it is. Some people don't want to hear no or not right now.
That doesn't make you not cool.
Well,
That just means
to
that
them it does, and that's what kind of makes me laugh is that because We don't say, well, let's talk.
It's not like you're a jerk, though. You're just you're.
I'm sure someone has caught me on a bad day when I probably was a jerk to them, and if you're listening, I'm very sorry. Genuinely, I didn't mean to be a jerk to you, but I think we're just very direct. I mean, dude, we know Norbert's very direct. That's his way.
Yeah.
And that's part of being German.
I love it.
It's a very direct line of communication.
Yeah.
And that's just, he's got the big, deep voice. It's direct.
He's awesome.
With me, my whole thing, and I'll say this because we've now been talking for an hour and almost 10 minutes.
Snap.
So I will say this. I think that time is our most valuable commodity. You can't get it back.
No.
At all.
Absolutely
Like ever.
not.
It's just gone. It's going.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's why I appreciate anybody who's been listening this
Yeah,
long.
for sure. Thank you so much for listening.
But yeah, I don't want to waste anybody's time. That's
Yeah.
why I just get straight to the point. Anyway.
I remember speaking to Sophia. We're wrapping up, so I won't spiel too long or talk too long. But I remember speaking to Sophia about my first interactions with you, and I know she remembers this vividly. But I told her, I'm so appreciative of the fact that he's straightforward.
Well, that's good.
Because in the business world, I consider myself as my own business. That's what I am, and so I have to be that sometimes. So it's very difficult to try to cater to someone, like help them understand that as a business you have to be straightforward and you can't BS, but also you're a personable person that can be talked to. That's such a valuable characteristic, to be able to say no when you need to say no. And not because you as a person are being a jerk, but because it's not the right time or not this or that. And so, and people that really know, they will value that, and that's something that I gravitate to, and I like that.
And here we are.
Yeah.
The bromance continues.
The bromance continues!
All right, dude, we're going to wrap this up. Richie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We literally, I got to give a shout out to my colleague, my assistant, Brandon Sinner. He's awesome.
He is awesome.
And Brandon suggested, hey, instead of questions that you maybe think of ahead of time, just have a conversation with Richie.
Yeah.
So that's what we did, everybody. We sat down and we just had diarrhea of the mouth
That's
right
right.
now, and it was awesome.
He's a handsome boy.
He is a handsome boy.
Yeah.
Richie, thank you.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here, brother.
Yeah. Thank you for listening, guys. For real.
Thank you
Seriously.
for your time.
Yeah, because time is something you'll never get back.
And we'll leave on that positive note.
Thanks for listening to Meinl Radio. If you liked this episode, please head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. We would appreciate it very much. Thanks, and we'll see you soon.